Okay. Beta. I'm gonna show y'all boys where I'm from, man. I'm from morning. Big boss K-Pop top box. Fuck about solidical. Tough times don't last. Good people do it enough. So call them in the file line. Maybe it matter. Peak game, metaphors of what's mine. This might get me to lose followers. Boss don't never. I'm be blunt. I don't care, bro. Right. That stuff that happened to Charlie Kirk, bro, was dry. You know what I'm saying? That stuff was dry, bro. Real talk. Like, it was lame. I'm going to keep it 1,000. You know, we all going to have different opinions, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? And I don't respect that. As a man, I don't respect anybody who can't stand on their 10 as a man. And, you know, which I got the vibe that it was one of them, you know, one of them people, you know what I'm saying, that did it. But, you know, we got to be able to have these tough conversations. And, you know, boss been saying stuff like that as it pertains to boxing. I said, man, look, we all ain't going to agree. You know what I'm saying? But talking about it, you know what I'm saying, that's how we gain understanding. But, you know, we ain't going to agree on everything. You know what I'm saying? And I respect that man for wanting to have the uncomfortable conversations, because, you know, everybody ain't gonna want to go talk, you know, about certain things. You know what I'm saying? He is. So, you know, I didn't really know a lot about dude. I went and, you know, watched a couple of his videos, and I was like, dang, you know, this dude having conversations that, you know, a lot of us don't want to have. So I'm sending prayers to his family, bro. And as a country, we got to do better, my bro. I'm just keeping it 1,000. You know, we got to do better as a country. That stuff dry, man. You know, the fact that somebody that mad, you know, because that dude got a different opinion than, you know, that stuff dry. So I just want to say that, man. Let's get to the boxing video. And prayers to everybody, man, for real. Really, I really pray for everybody. But let's talk boxing. Timothy Bradley, you know, baldhead Bradley. You saw his statement I put in the beginning of this video before I got in, you know, my spiel. That he says this fight, it would, if he loses to Terence Crawford, is more damaging to his career than if he was to lose to a David Benavidez. And I have to agree. I have to agree that if Canelo Alvarez loses to Terence Crawford, is more damaging to his career. And I've said this before, right? It's crazy how I say things, and, you know, but I don't know boxing. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm rambling. Oh, I'm a Crawford hater, and, you know, I'm a Canelo hater, and all this other stuff. But he's saying the same thing I'm saying. I digress. So basically, I agree. This will be more damaging to Canelo's career, right? You got a guy who's coming up 3 weight classes. Timothy Bradley said 2. It's 3 because he did a brief stint at 54. You know, we're not even gonna count 54. He didn't stay there and keep fighting. He touched the weight class and then got out the weight class, right? So what it boils down to is this. You got a guy who's never been in your weight class before, who's never fought above 154, you know, haven't touched 60 or 68, and he's coming into your weight class, and if he beats you, right, it's more embarrassing to Canelo to lose to Crawford than to lose to a David Benavidez. I 1,000% agree with that. that's just what it is, right? That's why I said this fight makes no sense. He proves my point, right? When I sit here and say this fight makes no sense, there's no upside for Canelo. Even if he beats Terence Crawford, there's no upside for him. You know what I mean? There's no upside. People talking about, oh, well, he's an undefeated fighter, you know, and Canelo will be an undefeated fighter. That don't mean nothing, bro. You could be undefeated and ain't fought nobody. He's a prime example of that. Terence Crawford's a prime example of that. You could be undefeated and ain't fought nobody, bro. You know what I mean? Canelo gains nothing beating Terence Crawford, but loses everything if he loses to Terence Crawford, right? There's no coming back from this. There's no career high paydays again. There's none of that, bro. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I said, if you gonna take a fight that you potentially could lose, go fight David Benavidez. That's just, you know what I mean? Yo, now, of course, in the article, they trying to bring up how big David Benavidez is. I'm not trying to hear that. Canelo is fought Caleb Smith, who's a big guy, right? He's about around the same size as David Benavidez, right? So I'm not trying to hear that. Billy Joe Sanders is a big guy, right? Is he David Benavidez big? No. Edgar Berlanga is a big guy. You know, Hyman McGee is a big guy compared to Canelo, right? So Canelo been fighting bigger guys. You know what I mean? So pause. We're not gonna sit here and make excuses and, you know, oh, David Benavidez is, you know, he's humongous, and pause. Like, no, bro. I think that Canelo looked at the landscape and was like, I don't want that fight. I think he know that's a dangerous fight for him. He know he gonna really have to work, and he feel like it's less risk fighting a Crawford. That's how I feel like Canelo feels, in my opinion, than fighting a David Benavidez, right? Yes, could Crawford beat him? Potentially, right? It's boxing. Anything can happen. But he know that David Benavidez fight, he ain't fought a fight in a long time that was 50-50 since Triple G, since like the first or second Triple G fight. He ain't fought a fighter where it was like, it's a 50-50 fight. You know, the past, I forgot how many fights ago he fought Triple G, but since he fought Triple G, his last couple fights he's been the major favorite. You know what I'm saying? You know, you got people saying it's a 50-50 fight, but the betting odds got Canelo, right? But you're seeing a lot of people, you know, a lot of fighters picking Terence Crawford, right? The betting odds is Canelo, but you got a lot of people picking Terence Crawford to beat Canelo Alvarez, right? And truthfully, because Canelo pulled this stunt and agreed to it, I hope Terence Crawford beats Canelo Alvarez. I'm not gonna lie to you. I hope he beat the brakes off Canelo, right? I do. It's just my boxing logic. I feel like Canelo gonna figure out a way to win, even if it's a close fight, because I do think Canelo's washed up, right? So we shall see what happens. I'm not watching the fight, but I'm pretty sure some Bud Booty word gonna tell me if Terence Crawford wins. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Let's go.